so we're back with LT now, and we're nearing the end of the process now. And LT, what's the next steps?
Well, after the glue up, the bolts and stuff will get cut off. We'll grab this knife here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how we square up the knife, put the actual shape on it, and then I'll get it in 50 grit, and then we'll head back for finishing.
All right.
Okay, it's going to get a little bit dusky. I'm going to put my mask on, and we'll go through it.
Okay, well, I'll get a mask on as well.
So what I just did was take off all the excess. We have our machine set up for squaring, and this is now square. Next thing I'm going to do is put a quick round over on the route. Again, we have our machine set up depending on what we're working on. We just check the height real quick. As you can see, that gives us a little bit of a round over. So now I have a nice consistent round over that I can start the 50 grit process. So I'm going to put my mask back on, and I'm going to take this to full rough shape. So it'll take just a few minutes to do this. And now the knife is completely roughed in on a 50 grit. I use a wheel. A lot of people use a flat section or a slack section. I taught myself on a wheel years ago, and I just always do it, and it's just a touch thing and a feel as you go through. To make something round with something round, sometimes a little bit of work, but we get that already. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change a wheel on one of our small grinder real quick, and then I'm going to show you how we shape the underneath sides of these and move right down the line. At this point, I'm just going to put the finger notch underneath, get that shaped the way we want it.
I'm sure you're making it look easy.
Well, it is something, I mean, it's relatively simple. It is a learned task. You gotta know how much pressure to put where and different things, but I just want to get this. This way you have a really nice grip, and then I'll pull this out just a little bit. And at that point, we're pretty square and done. And that's how the underneath of that and the shape will actually start coming from there.
Awesome. All right, we're here with Scott. Now we're pretty much at the end of our journey here with this knife. And he's just gonna put, what are you gonna do, the final edging? And
I'm going to roll this down with a 120 grit that I have on there and remove some of those 50 grit scratches and give it a little bit more shape. And then I'm gonna roll it down with a 320 grit belt and get rid of those scratches. And we're going to go over there and buff it and polish it up real nice. And then the final step is going to be, well, I'm going to get, see that little rough spot right there?
Yep, I do see that.
I'm going to go back down to that machine and go fix that up. But other than that, then we'll put an edge on there and buff it and shave paper.
So you're pretty much the last man in the process.
Usually. This table though, if I set it between here, if we have like, hey, we got to do 50 knives quickly, I'll do a couple grits on here and lay it on the table, and then Nick will buff it. Okay. And just like some of the other guys were doing hopscotching back and forth, Nick and I work really good right here. He'll buff it and put it back, pointing the other direction on the table. Now I know I can sharpen it.
Okay.
And then I'll put it back, and I'll put the burr on it, and then he can buff it.
Sounds like a good
paper
system you guys
check.
got.
We zing back and forth. He is my sharpening protege.
All right.
Good.
Well, let's see how it's done.
Okay.
Now you're stepping up in grit.
Now we're going to go to a 320 grit. Smoother. Depends on the knife, depends on the material. Sometimes I'll use a wore out 220. Sometimes a fresher 320. Kind of like a feel thing.
Touch and a feel. That's the craftsman part of it.
Explain.
Yeah, that's the artisan part of it.
A little after I have enough coffee, my little brain goes on autopilot. And I'll just do it.
So that was a rouge you put on there?
No, that's a piece of rubber.
Oh, okay.
That's a cleaner.
Oh, okay. Are you zoomed in, maybe right? Yeah, exactly.
Let's see if I can make it spark for you. You see that?
Yeah, I did see that actually.
So much.
Was that metal being removed or was that static?
No, that's static.
That's static electricity? Awesome, cool. Yeah, I seen that little blue spark. I didn't know what that was.
So if you forget about it and you're sanding and then keeps you awake too.
Oh yeah, she's polishing up now.
Getting there.
Beautiful.
It's good enough to start buffing it, and then we'll look for scratches. Sometimes on this snakeskin stuff, it's harder to see the scratches, so we'll buff it a little, and that will make the scratches come out if there are.
I mean, that almost
think
looks good enough to put on the shelf as it is, by my eye. That's awesome looking.
It would be, well, sometimes when we bead blast, we'll just do the 120 grit and then go to the bead blast cabinet. That gives a great finish.
Cool.
You could still bead blast this one, but we're going to tune her up there on the buffing wheel and
all
see
right.
what we get. This will go. Wait, mask. This is one of the more dangerous machines in the shop, just because this is high speed, and just like when you're working with an angle grinder, if you get past a certain point on here, it will want to grab the knife, and before you can say, uh-oh, it's going to throw it onto the floor or your foot or something.
Out of all the machines that I've seen today, I wouldn't think that would be the most dangerous one.
It's thrown a few knives on the floor, for sure. All right, you can see a little bit, there's some scratches there, a little bit right there.
Okay.
And the buffing compound usually lays down on the scratches, and you can see them. This is looking
that
pretty
thing
good.
Almost, you can almost see yourself in that. That's
Looking good.
Nice. Yeah, it's looking really good.
So sometimes these spots that are flat, you think, oh, it's just flat, there's no contour, that'll be easy to sand. Well, we're sanding on a belt that is concave and it's moving around, and sometimes the flat spots are harder to get than the curves. So we'll hit it again here. I'm also going to hold this knife like this, because my scratches are almost vertical here if I hold it this way. So if I hold it this way, it's a different angle. Sometimes I can see that the scratches are going away a little easier.
Yep, all gone.
Okay, should be ready to buff again. I don't know if you could hear it, but I turned the machine up a little faster.
Yeah.
And I wasn't pressing as hard to try and keep this paper flat. And I was just kind of trying to skim the surface and get rid of those scratches, because if I would have went like this,
You'd concave it.
I would have been catching the edges, but not this little flat part where I need it. If they're really bad, I can come down here on this rubber wheel and touch it just a little bit, but
If you were pushing, you wouldn't be hitting the flat surfaces.
correct. See that I do the spine first. A lot of this is to get going, to do it faster anyway. Like when you got 40 or 50 knives to do, muscle memory is huge. So whenever I come over the buffer, even if I've already buffed this a little bit, I do the spine like an X, I'll do the tail, I'll do the bottom like an X, and then I'll start on the sides. So again, it's an autopilot thing, and it just makes things go faster.
Man, that thing is shining now.
Okay.
Wow, look
No
at that thing
scratches down
shining
between
up.
there. No scratches in the brass or the steel. Little imperfection there. That's the micarta though.
Beautiful.
But better than it was. Much smoother, obviously.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So, and I ran the spine just a little bit on the 320 grit. Once we sharpen it, I'm going to go down to this machine and do a little bit more on the spine, and that's for hitting a fire steel. It's already
You gotta put that real aggressive 90 degree with that belt over
give
there.
it the old ice skate treatment there.
Nice.
It'll probably hit a steel right now with just that 320 grit, but it'll get better when I do the
Yeah, there was some in the case that you could almost use as a secondary cutting edge. It was just
yeah, if you're careful where you grab, you can definitely drag this thing down a branch and make your tinder bundle.
Yeah,
just from the
definitely.
spine. Yeah, that'll work good for that.
awesome.
So this is not real sharp right now, but
So we gotta put an edge on her, huh?
let's get her sharp. All right, so we've changed the belts. Now we're down to the red 120 grit. Red's for cutting on steel. And we're going to sharpen this up. And we sharpen everything here at the shop on a slack, even as slight as that is. It's going to make a convex edge. And we attack into the blade. We don't sharpen like this. I've seen guys do that. This is just the way I was taught, so that's the way we do it. So we got the machine slowed way down. Might be hard for you to see, but if you could film down the edge of this, and you'll see that there's part of this edge is white and part of it is not. Can you see that on here?
You know, I can see it
Might not be
with
able
my
to-
eye,
Okay.
but I don't know if it's coming out on camera, but I can see exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, so that's the burr forming. So when we got this flat hunk of metal, and now I'm slowly coming around like this, but I want this. On a whole edge from plunge line to tip, I want that burr. And when I see it forming, I can see it forming on the belt and I can feel it, then I want to take the burr and go this way. And once I can move that burr at will, left side or right side, I know I got it. Time to change to the next step in the process. So this forming of the white there and not there tells me I'm getting close. This is a really good setup actually, because once I come off the belt, I can hold this thing in the shadow here, and it's plain as day that, yep, there's the burr, nope, that's missed, yep, there's the burr.
Yeah, I can see it, yeah.
So a few more passes.
All right.
Now can you see the white line the whole way?
Just gotta get it exactly right, but yeah, I can.
Can you see it with your eye?
I can see it with my eye.
Okay.
And it looks like it flashes in the
So
camera.
from plunge line to tip, we have a burr. Now I've switched back and forth already. I've moved the burr left to right. I know that I got it on the run now. I'll give her a little buff.
So you clip the burr after that, right?
Yeah, now I'm going to take that burr and I'm going to polish it straight. Not only am I going to remove the burr, I'm going to polish that very edge on this felt wheel. And then we'll hit it here just a wee little bit, and then we'll hit the edge on the other machine. There's about 3 or 4 different hardnesses of felt wheel, by the way, out there on the market. This is the one they just call hard. There's another one even harder than that. Don't see the need for it. This works really good. notice we're going to buff edge down. I know things are working good because I just removed half of the compound on that half of the knife. And it usually ends up getting this little V section to it. So from all that buffing, I've probably taken my tip, and this is not very sharp right here, which I'll tune up. That's the last step, doing that. But as far as the blade goes,
oh yeah,
it's sharp now.
It's on.
What are these? A2?
Those are
D2. D2? Okay.
Oh yeah, that's razor sharp.
Not much noise there. And just from experience, I can see that the paper, hard to, I don't know if you'll be able to film that, but right at the very edge of that paper, where I've just cut through, it is not curling up. It's just slicing through. So I know that that's pretty good.
Awesome.
So,
yeah, man, that's sharp.
the last step here will just be to hit the spine.
So now you're readjusting the spine, or you're putting the spine on it?
I'm sharpening the spine so you can hit it with fire steel, and
Sharpening
I'm
the spine
make this
now?
like a needle.
And you just put that right to the jimping?
So now, yeah, just cut that last one, but yeah, right to the jimping. So now this will throw sparks either side, and this part here is like a little needle now. If you take your finger and would go like that, before your finger would just slide right off. Now
It's catching.
it will catch.
Awesome.
So, I was sharpening one day at the other place, and I had this really sharp, and the man who's taught me everything, LT, says, "That's good, but this won't open a bag of potato chips. We got to run the tip again." Oh, okay. So once you do that, it's wicked. This is very needle-like.
Nice.
It's fantastic. And being D2, this will hold a really good edge for quite a while. But also, since it's convex on that slack belt, if you have a leather strop with compound on it, it'll come right back for resharpening in the field. Don't forget to take your Sharpie marker with you and put them little lines on there, a little paint on there, especially if you've never worked a strop before. And go back and forth a couple times and look where that Sharpie mark. Did you remove the whole thing? Did you get it from plunge line to tip? That's your little tattletale, that Sharpie marker.
Yeah, that's how I teach my students how to sharpen
Oh,
it. Period.
okay. That works fantastic.
We take a Sharpie marker out and we mark the complete edge from start to finish.
You can do that.
And then what are you removing? Well, you're putting a false edge on, or something like that. So yeah, that is a good idea.
Once
just
you
for
get
sharpening.
the hang of using the Sharpie marker on whatever you use at home, the machines, now that you know about the burr and the polish and using a Sharpie marker, now you should be able to sharpen on anything, almost anything. So if you're in a pinch and you have to use a coffee cup and a legal pad, and you got your Sharpie, you're like, I don't know if this is working too good, you can tell right away with that Sharpie marker whether you got it or not. So, and some of the other tests.
It's a good tip that, you got a freebie today, guys. Sharpie marker lets you know how you're sharpening your knives.
Oh yeah, for sure. Good tattletale. So that's it. She's polished. The last thing to do is clean it. Eve does that in the front. We'll run the polishing compound out of the lanyard tube. She'll put some acetone on there, make sure all the nooks and crannies are good, and hit it with a coating of ballistol, and off it goes to a happy customer.
All right, well, thanks.
Sure.
All right, guys, well, there you go. You just seen an LT Wright handcraft knife from start to finish, pretty much in different steps, a couple different knives that were in there, but we just wanted to show you each and every step that goes through in making one of these knives. LT, you got anything to add?
Yeah, thank you guys for coming down today. It's always nice to show people how something's done. Virtually everything's done by hand, as you can see, and I want to invite you back over this coming summer You come down, we'll take one start to finish from a piece of steel and send you home with it.
Yeah, that sounds
make
like a
you
good
do all
idea.
the work
Yeah,
this time.
now I got to do all the work this
So,
time.
but thank you very much, man.
Absolutely.
Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
that sounds like a good idea. I'll come down here and actually, you know, from what I've seen, step by step, machine, then me actually do it. That sounds like a really fun idea, man.
Right
That
on.
sounds cool. You got social media sites you want to let them know about?
Yeah, you can check us out at ltwrightknives.com or LT Wright Handcrafted Knives, the Facebook page. So we have both. And a Twitter account, so we're on all the social medias and the website as well.
You guys got like YouTube or anything like
Yeah,
that?
we do have a YouTube channel, and I think it's
You showcase knives.
you can access it from our website.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. All right, there you guys go. This has been William Myers from Mantis Outdoors. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, I appreciate it if you click subscribe down below. Liking this video really helps me and my channel out. I appreciate all your views, comments, and support, and hopefully we'll see you out in the woods.